Hey everyone, how are we all doing? Apologies first of all for not being the usual walk and talk. The weather is pouring out there. It's pouring down with rain and it's pitch black currently mid-afternoon. So I thought I'd try this instead. Now I know the lighting's not perfect, so apologies. I'll try and improve on that next time. But I wanted to get on and sort of talk about what I've been up to the past week. And that's basically been stopping the booze. Now, if you haven't watched this channel before, my name's Carl. I'm in my mid 40s and I'm trying to reinvent myself and build a life that actually gets me excited again, as opposed to sort of staying on the same old hamster wheel, kind of doing stuff that I'm not happy with. And I'm here to share that journey and how things go. Now, before I talk about giving up the booze, what was I drinking in the first place? So, obviously, these are all averages. Some weeks were different to others, but I would call myself a middle of the road drinker. I would drink most weekends, normally starting from kind of Thursday with a few pints with mates. And that would then go on through Friday, where it'd be slightly more, Saturday night as usual. And then Sunday would be your kind of bottle of red with the missus, um, with a roast, and then, or maybe sort of beers at a barbecue on a Sunday. So it would be quite a bit over the weekend. And then doing what I was doing as a career, that was very social. And there would be days where you'd be drinking other days of the week as well. So there'd be quite often days where it kind of the dots would join, it'd be all week. I think what I kind of realized was I was still drinking now like I was in my mid 20s, but now I'm in my mid 40s and the two don't really work together. So that's kind of where I was at and where at the point where I decided to kind of have a bit of a break. So why did I decide to give up on the booze? Well, if I'm really honest, I was looking in the mirror every morning and all I saw was a middle-aged, overweight bloke looking back at me. And it's got to the point where I don't like it anymore. It has been a rough few years. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I can see looking at myself, it's taken its toll on me the past couple of years. And let's be honest, there's not much I can do about my age. That's only going to go one way. But there is something I can do about my weight and my health. And this is what would come into it, that I would realize that if I was looking at the weight side of things, I could be really good and I would do things like kind of calorie control and kind of get out more, do more exercise. And during the week, I'd be quite good most of the time. However, get to the weekend, as I've said in the previous bit, that I would then start drinking. And any kind of work I'd done during the week, I'd undo at the weekend, and then I would start again Monday. So I had this constant loop of doing the same thing and never kind of making any kind of improvement. And it really started to bother me. So basically, I was wondering if I just get rid of the booze for, I'm saying the next 100 days for now, but we'll see where it goes. If I just get rid of the booze for the next 100 days and kind of cut that cycle, what's going to happen? How will things look 100 days from now? And that's kind of the premise that I'm doing this from. And would I actually finally lose the dad bod and actually start being proud of what I look like again? So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, I'm not gonna lie, before I started this, there were things in my head that I was worried about. If I start doing this 100 days, how's it going to affect things? I was questioning myself, like, you know how am I going to manage holidays? How am I going to manage kind of events? How am I going to manage this, that, and the other? What my mate's going to think? And all these things were kind of going around my head. And if I'm really honest, they were going around in my head for quite a while before I actually started. Now, the truth is, things like the events, I don't know yet. I don't know how they're going to play out. I don't know how that's going to work. Right now, it's a good time of year to do it. Things are a little bit quieter. I've probably got at least a couple of months where things aren't going to be happening. And for me, once I've got a few months under my belt with something, I find it easier to continue because I don't want to kind of lose what I've started. And as for my mates, it was really interesting. They don't care. Actually, they kind of see it's quite interesting. They're a good bunch of lads, and generally they didn't care what I was doing and just kind of said they'd support me. And the truth is, this day and age, it's not hard to go to the pub and just have an AF beer as opposed to a real beer. Um, they don't taste as good. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things. They weren't fussed, so why should I be fussed? So how's it been? Now, as I said, I was going to talk about just the first 7 days, but to be honest, not a huge amount changed within that period. It's actually been the first 2 weeks I've seen a real sort of difference happen. So I'll talk through kind of week one first and how that's been, and then I'll go into week two, because it's more in week two where there were bigger things that happened that kind of really surprised me. And so I kind of give you a rough idea where things have gone. So if I look back on that first week, the Sunday evening, I had the sort of last glass of red wine. And then it was the Monday morning that was sort of day one. And to be honest, day sort of Monday through to Thursday, there wasn't really anything big that happened. Um, I would only say that the kind of thing I noticed was maybe my sleep was slightly disrupted. I wasn't getting the best sleep. Whether that was connected, I'm not sure. However, when Friday come along, that was kind of the first kind of big challenge. That first Friday was quite tricky. I had made no plans. I kind of stumbled into it, and actually I felt like something was missing. I felt like I had the stressful week at work, and I was trying to find a way to kind of sort of replace the sort of the beer with something, that kind of habit that I had on a Friday night. And what I'd say with that as well is I was full of man flu. So where I'd probably be expecting to feel quite good about things, quite healthy for not drinking for a week, actually I felt pretty rotten. So there's almost this urge of sod it, I might as well have a beer. However, I managed to just about avoid it. I ended up going for a bit of a walk. My wife was putting my son to bed and just kind of get myself outside and then come back and watch some crap TV. And that was kind of the first Friday. The mistake I made there, I would say, was that I had nothing planned that Friday. I kind of tried to raw dog that first weekend and kind of not have any plans. And I think that kind of made things a little bit more difficult, because ultimately you're getting rid of a habit you've had for, well, since I was 18. So that's something I would say if anyone's trying to do this, have plans in place for a replacement, whatever that may be. So in order to try and replace that, I've decided to try and do the Couch to 5K program that you see. It's online. And that's basically getting myself up to run 5K again. And that's not something I've not run now for years. And I was like, you know what, if I can do that, that's one thing I can do on a Friday night. It kind of, it reinstates that more healthy lifestyle. So I've kind of taken on a challenge to do the Couch to 5K with the plan to do a park run in the next couple of months. Now, I know for probably people on here, 5K is nothing at all. I think it's all personal, depending where you're at. You know, I'm not running years, so 5K to me feels like quite a big challenge, and to do a park run would be really cool. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I mean, for some people, maybe it's a 10K or something else. But for me, 5K is right. So instead of kind of just sitting there, sort of waiting to sort of have beers at the weekend, I've kind of replaced it with this kind of challenge of the Couch to 5K. So we'll see how it goes. So that was the first kind of week. And really it was the second week that things got interesting. And starting off on the Monday, I actually done the first run. When I say run for the Couch to 5K, it was actually a very slow jog, nearly broke me, but that's what I did. And I had to be honest, I wasn't going to do it during the day. I couldn't be bothered. It was that evening where I was like, you know what, I'll just go out for a walk. And that walk turned into a bit of a jog. I'd done the app, and actually it turned out all right. But it wasn't until I got home that evening that I felt really good. I can only describe it as some kind of sort of adrenaline buzz or buzz. I guess the kids would call it dopamine. I felt amazing after doing it, and it really made me sort of open my eyes to, hang on, this whole giving up the booze for 100 days might actually be quite a positive thing. And then what that then led into was really interesting, is that the next day I decided, well, you know what? I've just gone out for a run. I'm not going to kind of waste that effort. I'm actually going to try and eat quite healthy today. I'm not going to try and be perfect, but you know what? I'm just not going to eat this sort of junk food as much. I'm going to track the calories. So if I do have some junk food, I know what I'm doing. And that's what I kind of did on the Tuesday. And again, it started building up. I noticed that the drinking thing become, it was probably middle of the week, but it become less of a problem. And I was more focused on trying to get that dopamine hit from the kind of exercise and eating healthy. And it felt really good that second week. And I don't know if that lasts forever, but right now it felt amazing. Now, that was kind of the physical side of things. It was more the emotional and mental side that kind of surprised me later on that week. And it was the Thursday night. And my wife wanted to watch the Take That documentary, the new one on Netflix. Don't judge me for this. I was trying to be a good husband. So it was Gary Barlow, and I really can't believe I'm talking about Take That and Gary Barlow, but bear with me. He was talking about how when the band split up back in the mid-90s, he kind of lost his sort of sense of purpose, what he was doing, and he turned to food. I don't think it was booze back then. Anyhow, he turned to food to kind of escape and kind of almost like kind of a self-destruct thing. And he put loads of weight on and went for this sort of really kind of unhealthy period, which he was talking about. And I say it was kind of this self-destruct loop. But what really scared me was, as I was listening to this, it occurred to me, this was really resonating. And I now realize why, because I think I could almost see myself in him and what was going on. In that the past couple of years have been really kind of difficult, as I mentioned. And I think I blame myself for a lot, losing my job, money worries, all that kind of stuff. That over the past 12 months, I would say, I've kind of stuck loads of weight on, I don't feel happy. And what I was doing was, in order to escape that, I was drinking. Not like scary amounts, nothing like, not nothing serious, but a couple of pints a night, just to kind of escape how I felt about things. And it occurred to me, I've been on that same self-destruct kind of spiral down. And I suddenly realized, Christ, if I do carry on the way I was, it ain't going to go nowhere. And the truth is, no one's going to come and rescue you to kind of stop it. Life's not going to get any easier. You just have to stop it. And it really shocked me how much that resonated. And say, sometimes those things happen in life that wake you up a little bit. And good old Gary, he woke me up slightly at that point. So if I'm escaping with the booze and I kind of do that weekend cycle thing, I need to kind of find a new identity. And I think that needs to be about being the healthier me. I've never really identified as being kind of a healthy person. I've always been a guy that goes to the pub, eats junk food, doesn't exercise. And that's the bit I need to change. And it's not about doing it temporarily. I kind of need to find the person, the identity that is like that and is healthy, that actually I go from kind of not liking what I see in the mirror to actually feeling some pride in myself again. And that's kind of where this journey is going to go, I think. So then we went into that sort of second weekend, and that was the interesting thing. I didn't even really crave a beer that time. It was really interesting. I had a couple of AF beers, which weren't actually too bad. And that was kind of it. I didn't feel like I was missing something. I felt like, and again, I think there's the motivation because it was so soon after that kind of epiphany, whatever, that I decided that actually I don't really care. I kind of go about it. And that was really interesting that second weekend. And just for kind of clarity, I'm now into the third week of the journey. So that's kind of where I'm at. And as I say, that's only the first 2 weeks. I'm curious to see what happens now. So what I will do is I'll give it a few more weeks, maybe to kind of the 1 month point or just after the 1 month point. I'll share how I'm getting on again. And I will be totally honest, well, if I do kind of flounder and make a mistake, I will let you know, because I think it's important to share the journey. So I'm curious to know, have you kind of done the same yourself? Have you given up for a while? Did you ever sort of go back to it? How was the journey? How did you find it? I'd be really curious to know. And if you don't mind sharing in the comments, feel free to. It'd be great to know how many other guys are doing this out there. And so I'll leave it there. I don't want to ramble too long. Again, I apologize for the lighting and stuff. I need to kind of try and find myself some kind of, what they call it, podcast studio or office or something. But for now, this is what I've got. We'll see how we get on. And I hope we better get for a walk next week when it's not pouring down with rain. So I'll leave it there. Please, if you haven't, please subscribe wherever it is. And please like if it resonates. And again, if you got this far, thanks for watching. I really appreciate everyone that does. And I'll speak to you soon. Cheers for now.